Joining me now to discuss tone on the campaign trail, Simon Rosenberg, president and founder of NDN, a think tank and advocacy organization, also a former campaign advisor to President Clinton, and Mark Thiessen, who's a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. I know people talk like this behind closed doors. I mean, I may have used language like that at times, but I am not, thankfully, the President of the United States, and there is a question about whether this is appropriate tone. Romnesia, this isn't Battleship, President or Governor Romney, and now, oh, he's a BSer. To Rolling Stone magazine. I know you know people are going to read it and they're going to know you said it. Is it appropriate, Simon?
I don't think it's any mystery that this is a brutal campaign, Megyn. You know, politics is not is a tough business, and I think that emotions get high, and I think we're at the end of what is a very close election, and you know, people are fighting hard for the stuff to leave, and so I think this is normal in our business. Look, I mean, look what Barack Obama's been called, right? He's been called a socialist. People have said he doesn't have a birth certificate and wasn't born here. I mean, the attacks on him have been unprecedented in some ways.
But Romney hasn't said those things.
No, but they've been said about him. And so I think that, you know, this is a rough business these days, and I think that, you know, we're seeing it in the final days of the campaign.
How about it, Mark? Because I think a lot of President Obama supporters will look at those comments and say, right on, bring it. It's the presidency on the line.
Yeah, it appeals to his base, but it doesn't appeal to independents in the middle of the roaders, which are the people he needs to win over. And look, I find it a little bit humorous that Barack Obama is accusing Mitt Romney of being a BSer. I mean, this is the guy who said that that Mitt Romney wanted to bankrupt the auto industry when he in fact took the auto industry into bankruptcy. This is the guy who said the individual mandate wasn't attacked when he was trying to pass Obamacare, but then told the Supreme Court it was. This is the guy who blamed Benghazi on a YouTube video when he knew it was a terrorist attack. So it's a little bit rich to be using the term BS when it comes to Mitt Romney. But it gets to a deeper problem that Obama has with his campaign. In 2008, he said, if you don't have a record to run on, you paint your opponent as someone to run from. And that's basically what he's doing in this campaign. He had a choice going into these debates, because if you look at the polling right now, Fox News poll recently found about a quarter of the American people think the country's headed in the wrong direction, and 3/4 of the American people think that many policies need to change. That means even Obama's supporters, many Obama supporters, don't want another 4 years like the last 4 years. So going into the debates, he had a choice. He could lay out a different agenda for a second term and explain how his next 4 years of his presidency would be different from the last, or he could try and destroy Mitt Romney. And he basically chose the latter course and painted him, as you said earlier, as someone who wanted to kill a woman and it was a felon and all the rest. And the problem with that is he ceded the mantle of change to Mitt Romney, and you've played it. Mitt Romney has grabbed that mantle of change.
Understood.
And Obama's left with negative campaign.
You try to explain that to a 6-year-old. You explain to her about the Obamacare tax and the Libya YouTube video. Simon, we talked with Chris Steyerwalt at the top of the show about this New York Times columnist who says, and I quoted it earlier, losing campaigns have a certain feel to them. They go negative hard. They hype issues that only their core supporters are focused on. Separate and apart from whether you agree that's what the president is doing, do you agree that that is true?
Well, I want to say, first of all, I think that if you look at the polling just in the last 24 hours, every 6 consecutive tracking polls, including Rasmussen and Gallup, that have been very Republican, are showing movement towards Obama. So I don't think the Democrats view this as a losing campaign. I don't think Democrats feel that we're losing right now.
In the 2 o'clock hour, who's got different numbers than that.
No, he showed Obama ticking up a point today in his track that came out today.
Not in some of the critical swing states. We're going to break that news shortly.
I know, but in his national tracking, Gallup has seen a 4-point shift for Obama in the last 3 days. And so the point is, we don't think we're losing this election. I think Democrats feel like this thing is very close, and that, you know, we're ahead in the battlegrounds, the national numbers. And so I'm answering your question.
Yes, do that.
I don't think Barack Obama has been overly negative. I think he's been tough and strong and taken it to Mitt Romney in the way that he's expected to do in a hotly contested election. It's amazing to me that people on Fox News and people watching the show could complain about Barack Obama being too tough and too strong, you know, fighting for the stuff that he believes in. That's politics, Megyn.
I mean,
come on.
I get that. You know, the reason, in part, that we raise it, you know, this business about he's a BSer and Romnesia, is because we had a different promise from this president, and, you know, we've talked about it before, but here he was back in 2009, and listen to his messaging then.
Well, I think
we have to get to the point where we have a conversation about big, important to the American people, without vitriol, without name-calling, without the assumption of the worst in other people's motives.
Mark, name-calling?
Here's the... Yeah, well, exactly. That's all he's been doing for months, and it's backfiring on him. In that last presidential debate, Mitt Romney looked presidential. He looked serious, and Obama was making cracks like, we've got these things called aircraft carriers that float on the sea and have ships land on them, and he looks condescending and negative. And look, the proof that Simon is wrong is this. Just this week, Barack Obama suddenly put out a booklet with his second-term agenda in it, which is nothing more than a bunch of repackaged talking points that they scrapped together at the last minute, because they understand that they've made a strategic error. That the point when Mitt Romney said, Mr. President, attacking me is not an agenda, that hit home with centrists and independents. And so what they've done is they're trying to scramble to say, yes, we do have an agenda. But the reality is they don't have a second-term agenda. Obama has not explained to the American people. He keeps saying forward, which means in the same direction. Americans don't want to go in the same direction. He has not explained how a second Obama term will be different from the first, and that's the fundamental flaw in his re-election strategy.
All right, I got to go. But I've been meaning to say this to Simon for 2 weeks now. I like your new hair.
Thank you. It was a little bit of an accident, so I appreciate that.
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. All right, guys, thank you for being here.